Welcome back. This is Soph,
This is Rich.
and we are from across the
The pond.
pond.
Hi,
What's
Rich.
going on?
What's going down?
How
You
was
good?
your weekend? How was your weekend?
Um, I think. Well, actually, I was going to say I think it was good, but nothing happened. So Friday, I said to you we was in tier two,
Mm-hmm.
which meant, or we was due to go in. Well, we was in tier two last week, due to go into tier three, which was the highest.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 24 hours, they've made up another tier. So we're actually gone from two to four. We actually skipped three, we've gone straight to four. Everything's closed apart from uh, food shops and chemists. Don't go out unless you have to go out.
Uh-huh.
And he said that he was allowing you 5 days for Christmas. Christmas is cancelled. Uh, you can see people on Christmas Day only, and that's only one other person from your bubble allowed.
Do you know the reason behind that?
Because the numbers have supposedly gone up so much, they're not coming down. And I suppose he's decided, actually, maybe I should listen to these experts after all.
And do you know what else? I probably know something you
Do you
don't
know what
know
else? He said it's
already.
potentially going to last for 3 months. That's what else?
Oh yeah.
Was that the thing you were going to say?
Mm-mm.
Oh, what do you know then?
Well, they said on the news this morning that UK has, and it's on Twitter too. I'm getting new to Twitter.
Tweeted.
Um, that there's a new strand,
A
and
new
it's in the
strain?
UK. A new strain,
Yeah.
a new strain of the coronavirus, and guess where it's at? In the UK.
I don't believe that for a
So
second.
they put tougher restrictions, and then we can't even go to the UK,
We can't leave the UK.
and we
No, they've
can't.
said people can come in, but we can't leave the UK. We can't go to another country in case we take the strain. But people, obviously, I'm assuming there'll still be some guidelines or rules or whatever. But yeah, people can't come in here. But don't you think it's funny how we were the first country to get the vaccine, and randomly, all of a sudden, 3 days
I
later,
got
there's
the.
a new strain of it? I mean,
I'm
I'm
just saying.
talking conspiracy theories. I'm just putting it out there. Let's go.
I I got a I got a slew of them, but I'm not. That'll be a whole nother episode.
Well, let's just say, like I said on Friday, you heard it here first.
Hmm.
What about
Hmm.
your weekend, my love?
My weekend was uneventful. I hung out with some friends, had a couple drinks, and then came home.
Oh,
About it. Hmm.
didn't party into the night, dance the night away?
Oh, I wish. I tell you right now, I do miss a good just going to the bar and just having a drink. I do miss the DJs. I do miss like going out and cutting a rug,
Good old boogie two
but
step.
you can't. It's like a thing of the past. So I don't know if it'll ever come back. But I'm gonna tell you right now, the older you get though, you really don't go out as much.
Or you mean you don't, you just go round to people's houses rather than going out?
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the new thing anyway. I was doing that before COVID anyway, but I would rarely go out and cut a rug. But I do hang out with my homeboys and get a drink or two in, watch some football, talk some trash, that type of thing.
Okay, the big question on everybody's lips is Sunday. Did you get any more snow?
You know what? It snowed early this morning and that was it. It was like a dusting. It didn't even stick.
Oh.
So if you were up early, you probably seen it. I'm the one that didn't see it.
So anyone who voted yes to snow, they were wrong.
Yeah. Well, they said it was a 50% chance, and we're in the part where I'm at, we're in a lower elevation. So there's two mountains in between us. I mean,
Oh my God, listen to it.
two
Mountains
mountains.
in between us, not even hills, mountains.
Yeah,
God.
we got two mountains in between us. So like that's why they call us, they're like the
You're,
valley. So
you're in the valley.
unless the snow comes in really slow and just hovers over us, that's when we get dumped on. But if it's rolling real fast, We'll get a couple. We'll probably get an inch or a dust, and it's gone.
All right. Well, you can't have everything. You've got 2 mountains, so you can't have snow and all.
True that.
All
What's
right.
going on in your world though? What's going on besides, your prime minister shutting everything down? Anything else going on?
But that we can't do anything. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to say this on air just to cover my own back, right? Because obviously my mum was due to come here on Christmas Eve because my grandma was German, so their Christmas Day is actually Christmas Eve. So that's what we do, get together on Christmas Eve. So my mum was here yesterday. The lockdown didn't start till midnight. So she was here yesterday, and I was like, great. You're not even going to be able to come on Christmas Eve now because he said you can only have one person around on Christmas Day. And she was like, oh, sod it, I'm going to break the rules anyway. Then, before anyone jumps on our back, she said, thinking about it, Christmas Eve is our Christmas Day. So if anyone says anything, where you going on Christmas Eve, I'm going to be like, I'm going to my Christmas Day. So there's a loophole in the system there. Christmas
There's
Eve
always
is
one.
actually our Christmas Day. So
There,
I'm still getting a visit.
oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Get that dancing. So yeah, we found a way around it. But apart from that, no, can't go anywhere,
Well,
can't do anything.
here in the news is still people getting vaccines. As of today or yesterday, they have another company named Moderna, who has another vaccine. There's 2 vaccines out there now that've been approved.
Well, just be careful they don't
And
give you another strain of the virus, hey.
hey, ain't no telling. And then the man who is in charge of logistics has got on TV and apologized because some of the states are not getting enough of the vaccine like they were promised. And he said it wasn't anyone's fault but his logistically. And and then the Moderna vaccine is supposed to be going to all 50 states. So the only thing is that for me is I still don't understand how many shots you're supposed to get. Like, are you just getting one? Is it a 2 series? I heard it's a 2 series shot,
Yeah.
but all I'm seeing is people just getting one shot. Do you have to wait so
But you
many
have to
days
wait so
to get
long
the other?
before you have the next one, I think.
That's so I just want to know how they're going to keep track of that. But that's
But
not they
also, I wish
that's
I'd have
above my pay grade.
I wish I'd have remembered the state, but I saw somebody on TikTok earlier saying that one state in America had the highest case of deaths in the world from corona. And I know I'm doing a U and only giving half information here, but
You should have kept that to yourself.
but yeah, you got the most cases of deaths in one state over there.
I don't know which one it is because I'll tell you right now, the news is becoming very depressing.
It is.
So,
I'm not gonna lie. I mean,
oh,
everybody's said everybody has said what is tier 4 because they've literally just made it up in the last 24 hours. So whoever you speak to or people on social media or on news feeds or tweeting or whatever have said what is tier 4, where's that come from, so
maybe it's lockdown and just sip of air.
well what are they going to do when we get to 6? You're not even allowed to look out the window. Sorry for interrupting. What was you going to say? It's gone now, I bet.
No, I think today, by the end of the day, I'm not certain. I don't want to, but we are in dire need of a relief package. And the relief package is for small businesses, families who are making under $75,000 a year. They're getting $600 stimulus checks. The unemployment will get an additional $300 on their unemployment. And then they're trying to help out the small businesses. It's up in the billions on how much they came up with. They haven't decided yet if it's a yay or nay, but I hope they hurry up with it because I just feel so bad for the small businesses. I really do.
Yeah,
I was
well,
watching the thing this morning where they were saying about like your holiday, how you got your holiday dinner
Christmas dinner, yeah.
and Christmas dinner, and they were saying that to make the main course, like whatever meat chicken, turkey, ham, roast, whatever, but then go to your small businesses, restaurants wise, and get your sides from them,
Mm.
which is a smart move.
It is, but there's a lot of businesses, not just small, big, that have closed here. You know, like we've got um department stores like Debenhams has been around since I was a child. That's all closed now. You know, restaurant chains, Frankie and Benny's closed. Let's get the priorities in there. Restaurants are closed. I mean, I haven't been able to like work. Funnily enough, I had a photo shoot booked in between Christmas and New Year. Well, I can't do now.
Mhm.
Which is why it's definitely, or I know it's not possible for everyone, but you should have more than one income stream. Do you know what I mean? Like when the first lockdown came, they were doing a thing where if you were self-employed, they'd give you like a payout, a bit like the furlough scheme. But because I've got more than like my photography, they basically said, sorry, you've got another form of income, so we're not going to give you anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I
Wow.
literally had no choice but to hustle the other two side hustles to scrape it by. And that's what I'll have to do again now. So if any
Wow.
businesses want somebody to run their social media accounts, let me know. If anyone wants any home fragrance systems, let me know.
Oh, you know what? There was a big thing on SD today
Oh,
about, SD.com,
okay.
where people, and they were talking about during the pandemic that people have become very successful within SD.
Oh, well, I'm not going to lie. I opened an SD shop to sell my prints, photo
Yeah, and
prints.
I'm telling you, people are like reinventing their businesses. There was a gentleman who was a glass blower, and his stuff was really good, but he was like, could nobody really afford it. So
Mm.
one of his friends um, told him to go into making beer glasses, and I love beer. And he went into business. He has his own brewery, so
Hmm.
like he was selling the beer with the glasses, and he was blowing the glasses, so they're like custom made, and they were nice. I'm
Mm.
actually thinking about getting one because I saw one he had in his hand. I was like, yo, now that's a nice beer glass.
There you go. You've got to think outside the box in these crazy times.
So people, think outside the box. Get that hustle. Get
Think
that
outside
grind
the
in.
box. I just want to say one thing before we carry on, because somebody commented to me the other day that both of us coughed a couple of times on the last show. I think yours was just through laughing and getting your drink caught in the wrong hole. Mine is because it's something connected to, I've got a heart issue that I've still got another appointment at the hospital on Tuesday. So please, people, neither of us have got the Rona. He just can't drink properly, and I've just got a big heart. That's it.
Yeah, and I do not have the Rona
Mm-mm.
for all you people. I have been blessed to not have the Rona because let's get it twisted. I've been going to work every day during the pandemic, so I really consider myself blessed for one that I'm able to go to work when some families cannot. So I consider that a blessing. And number two is that I've been covered, so that way I'm going to work every day. So in my eyes, pandemic what? Take that.
I just had to say that because it was brought to my attention, so just in case
we
anyone else
was
had
we
been
coughing
thinking, look at these two coughing.
and hacking, and
Nothing,
next thing you know,
nothing to do with the older Rona. Right.
yeah.
Serious
All
Sunday.
right,
Change it up.
serious
And
Sunday,
it is proper serious
and
topic
you know
today. I
what?
ain't fronting.
Yeah, this is a really good one actually. I was watching a show on Amazon Prime called Lovers Rock,
Hmm.
and it was talking about um, the minorities that came from the Caribbean islands to England, and then they made their own kind of reggae sound.
I love the music.
And I'm serious. There's only one person I knew on the whole show, and that was Maxi Priest. And I didn't know that Maxi Priest was the very first person to bring reggae to the States. And I was just floored by that. But that being said, how do England handle racism?
That's a loaded. Big old question there, man. I didn't expect you to
And how, I mean, has how does racism uh in your personal circle, how did it how does it affect you, or how do you feel about it? I know I'm giving you a whole bunch of
you are.
questions at one time. Um, and then I just want to hear your side of racism, and how you dealt with it or have never dealt with it. But I know that you've dealt with it in some shape or form.
Yeah,
So
like I'm not gonna get it twisted for 1 second that like I've experienced it, but nowhere near anywhere near like, what black people have and have got to go through. So I don't want anybody to think like I'm trying to compare situations or circumstances or anything like that. I can only give my experiences. But
mhm,
I remember when I was working at Virgin as a manager, like I worked in the collections department. So basically, if people didn't pay their bill, they got cut off. And if they
mhm,
got annoyed, 9 times out of 10, they'd say to the agents, I want to speak to a manager. So this one old guy once said, I want to speak to a manager. So I took the call and I said, I'm not going to tell you any different. You need to pay your bill. You haven't paid for 3 months. Can't switch on. He said, what's your name? And I was like, Sophie. And he went, what's your surname? I thought, oh God, here we go. Because it's not Smith, Brown, or, Jones, a typical English name. So I said, Stanamin. And he said, yeah, well, why don't you fuck off back to where you came from and learn some manners? I said, mate, I'm white, I'm English, I was born and bred in this country. He said, yeah, well, tell your parents to fuck off where they come from then and learn some manners. End of call. And I was just like, really? Like, really?
mhm.
You're gonna make an assumption based on someone's name. Do you know what I mean? You can't see them. You've never met them before in your life. You're just gonna make an assumption based on someone's name. Um, the other time I personally experienced it, I mentioned it before. I was driving to my mum's with Alfie, and a guy tried to literally bully me off the road, and I thought, I'm not moving over because it's not safe. When we got to the end, he wound his window down. I said, what's your problem, mate? He said, what's my problem? And he looked at Alfie and he said, oh, I see what the problem is here. You've been too busy sucking black men's dicks. That's what your problem is. And I was like,
Wow.
what? Like, I normally I'm quite quick sarcastically to come back, right, with something.
Caught you off
I
guard.
swear to God, that man knocked me off my socks with that comment. I just said to him, I hope no one ever speaks to your mum or your daughter or your wife like that. And he just said, oh, F off, you dirty bitch, and then drove off.
Wow. Now let me ask you a question. Being that you do have a mixed child, and he's beautiful, by the way, but how did it affect your family life? Like, did your mom have a hard time dealing with you having an interracial child? Was your father feeling some type of way that you had an interracial child, and now that he is here, how does your family does your family accept him? Do they go, you know what, he's a part of you, I don't care, that type of thing?
Sorry. Do you know what? Like, I'll always be honest, I've got nothing to hide, but that loaded question is like opening a big can of worms, but we're going in. Um, my mom has never had an issue, and I don't know if that's because, remember I mentioned on a previous show, my mom's gay. So I don't know if that gives her a different perspective of things because, like she's more open-minded.
Mhm.
So it's never even been mentioned. I remember once when like, I'm not gonna lie, I've dated nothing but black guys for the last 20 years.
Mhm.
And I remember when I had my first boyfriend who was black, I remember my uncle saying to me, oh, have you told your dad? And I was like, have I told my dad what? I've got a boyfriend. No, that he's black. And I was like, didn't realize I had to.
Mhm.
Wasn't a thing. I'm gonna phone him and say, oh, by the way, I got a boyfriend. Oh, by the way, dad's black. Didn't think anything else of it. But yeah, my dad, I don't want to say was less accepting of it, but I mean, when we were younger, he used to say to me all the time, darling, I don't care what you do when you're older, as long as you're happy and you never marry a black man. He used to say that all the time. Um, so when people say, oh, people are racist because it's how they're brought up, I don't necessarily believe that, because if that were to be completely 100% true, I would have listened to my dad, right? Or what he used to say to me in that respect would have played some part in my decision making on who I choose to date, court, marry, whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it didn't. I don't look at people's. I don't look at people's color. You like. Well, I can only speak for myself. I like what I like. You know. Obviously, chocolate's a preference. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I haven't. When I say I've only dated black guys in the last 20 years. I've had 3 long-term relationships. You know, if I've been on an odd date, they've still been with black guys, but you know, there's not been like a string of them or anything like that. Um, but yeah, funny enough, we had a conversation about it. Probably just it was just yeah, I think it was in between lockdowns, and
Mhm.
they were mentioning the George Floyd thing on the news.
Mhm.
And my
Mhm.
dad just said, "Oh God, I can't believe they're still going on about that." And I was like, "Why? You know, nothing's ever going to change if it's not talked about."
Mhm.
And I just like they brought it up on the news again, and I was like, "Look at that guy. How would you feel if that was your son? Wouldn't you want justice?" And he was
Mhm.
like, "Oh well, the cop has been arrested, you know." And I was like, "So that's not justice. It's not justice until he gets his sentence and he gets what's owed to him, you know."
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, they're going to shout about it, and people will shout about it until something changes. And he said to me, "Oh, um, don't you think that racism's got like better over the years then?" And I said, "No." I said, "Why do you?" And he said, "Well, I think so." And I said, "That's because you're a white man living in a white village with white people. You don't see it. You know, he lives in a tiny village. Like if you was to Google an old English village, you just see white people like a farmer, you know, and a corner shop and a pub. That's it, you know." And
Yeah,
even
yeah.
even his other half said, you know, oh God, I can't even believe I'm going to repeat. But she basically said, like, when people in the village or where they live turn on the news and they see all these black people rioting or protesting against Black Lives Matter, they're not doing themselves any favors because the people in the village don't see black people other than that image on the telly of them protesting and stuff. So they're not doing themselves any favors. And I was, you know, and sometimes you just think it's not worth getting into because you're never going to win. And I just said, you know what, we're just going to have to agree to disagree because, you know, I don't get it, and they don't get it because they don't live in it. They don't. Do you know what I mean? They're not among it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not among it. So uh how can I put this? So, growing up like that, and now, how does your dad feel about your son?
Well, I
Like, you know
asked
what I
him.
mean? Like, because you said when you were younger, he was like, baby, I don't care who you date as long as you don't marry a black man. But now you have a child by a black
Mhm.
man. How did he feel about that in the beginning?
Well, I did ask him the same, but that same day we had a whole big old, you know, debate about it, a conversation, whatever you want to call it. And I said to him, "Core, you must have been so disappointed when I bought my first black boyfriend home, you know." And he was like, "Oh, I wouldn't say I was disappointed. I just don't understand it." And I said, "What do you mean you don't understand it?" And he just said, "Well, I don't particularly find black women attractive, so I don't understand how you can find black men attractive. I don't see what the attraction is." And I just said, "Well, your partner is older than you, so people might say I don't see what you see in older women. You know, it's you like what you like at the end of the day." Um, and I said to him, "Cool, you must have really been disappointed then when I told you I was pregnant." And he said, "Well, you've only dated black guys for the last 20 years. So if you were going to be pregnant, it was going to be by a black guy." Um,
Right.
he said at the time he wasn't disappointed. He was pleased because I was told when I was younger that I couldn't have children unless it was via IVF. So he said, "I was just genuinely happy for you because I knew that you always wanted children, you know." And I said, "Okay, well, what about like when Alfie was born, you know, like, and he's here?" And he just said, "When I look at Alfie, I don't see color. I just see Alfie."
That's beautiful. Now that's beautiful because if you think about it, when you were younger, he felt differently. And now that he's older and he's kind of like accepted your lifestyle and he's kind of like cool with it, which is dope, which is actually a beautiful thing. Um, and you said that your parents was accepted. Let me ask you a question now. I'm not gonna throw your age out there, but you said
Go for 39.
you dated, black men for the last 20 some odd years. But prior to that, you dated your own kind, right?
Yeah,
Do
putting
you
it
see the
politely. Yeah.
do you see the difference? Like, did you ever see
Okay.
the difference, or do you see a difference between a white man and a black man? The differences, I'm not
Yeah.
talking about like some people just automatically assume like, women just look at us as like sex symbols, you know what I mean? Like a sexual object, which, that's here nor there. I just want to know, like you said, you like who you like,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool. But then you said like you did date white men at one point in
One.
time, and then you
Just
kind of
one.
just
Just one. Let's get it. Just
well,
one.
one
But
or two or three, but I'm just saying,
okay, the other thing, like I do find that people stereotype a lot. So basically, like the whole all Muslims are terrorists. Well, the other thing my dad used to say when we were younger was, "Oh, black men cheat and beat their wives," right?
Mhm.
Now, I've had 4 relationships in my 39 years. 3 have been with black guys. My first relationship was a white guy who beat the shit out of me, right? For 5 years. That was a white guy. Now, I have dated black guys and I've had 3 full-time relationships, long-term relationships with black guys. Never ever had any sort of violence, anything like that whatsoever. So make of that as you will. But also, like you were saying about different traits and stuff, when I was younger and you used to have your clubbing days when you'd go out, black guys at that time rarely drank. And if they did, they'd have a few. Like, say you had 2 groups of people, you got a group of white dudes and a group of black dudes. The black dudes would be there to dance. They might have a couple of rums, or a couple of bloody brandies, but it was paced out. The white guys are there to down pints of beer, like hooligans. So
Uh-huh.
literally, I found like we would go out and people used to say to me all the time, "Oh, why don't you ever date white guys?" And I'd say, "Look at that. That's why I don't date white guys. Who wants to be associated? I'm embarrassed to be white sometimes, the way that they carry on out and about. Do you know what I mean?"
Mhm.
So, like, and I'm not saying all white guys are like that, and I'm not saying all black guys are like that. I'm just saying, in my experience,
Mhm.
it's 2 totally different behaviors.
All right. Next question. How did you feel like when, or has this ever happened to you? When, say, like you and your significant other who is black, and you are walking down the street, did you ever get side-eyed or rude comments thrown your way, or, like how does society in England deal with interracial
Okay,
couples?
again, I'm throwing this out there. It's just my experiences.
And these are your experiences and
Mhm.
your opinions, because I'm gonna give you mine.
Oh, good.
So,
But in my experience and my opinion, the only people that seem to have an issue with it are either older generation white people or
mhm.
young black women.
Okay.
So, older white people will look at you like you've literally just stabbed them in the leg, when you're only literally just standing next to them, literally like you're a piece of shit, which is a joke.
Mhm.
And then from young black women, you get the whole, couldn't you get a sister? Or look at you coming up all in here taking all our men. That's the reason why we're single, because you take all the decent ones, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, and I'd love to turn around and say, actually, love, it's probably your attitude why you can't get one. It's an attitude like that is unattractive, but I don't, obviously. But and I
Okay.
tend to find, okay, in England, I tend to find it's more black men with white guys than black women with white men.
Wait. Black, because you said, let me correct you right quick. Black guys
Yeah, with
with
white
white women,
women. Yeah, that's more um
common in
correct.
England.
That's the right word. Yeah, than black women with white men.
Mm, okay,
Not saying it don't occur, but it's not as common.
that's common. So, like, all right. So when you were coming up, because now I think it's more acceptable around the world, interracial relationships. But um, when you were coming up, did you see a lot of it?
Um, I remember dating this one guy, and I'm not saying I'm oblivious to it, but sometimes you think you don't realize how bad it is. And I remember we was having a chat once, and I said to him, have you ever had any, like issues dating? I like to ask, like you're asking me questions just in conversation. I like to generally see, people's opinion. And I said, have you had any like issues dating white women? And he said literally, so I'm going to say this was probably, I don't know, 15 years ago. And he was like, so only a couple of years before that, so 17 years ago, he said he was driving back from a date with a chick. He's black, she's white. And he saw the police like sirens in the rearview mirror. So he pulled over and they said to him, "Oh, you went for a red light." And he said, "I didn't. The light was amber." And they were like, "Well, we'll watch it back on the camera." So they did, and the thing was amber. And he was like, "I told you it was." So they were like, "Get out the car, get out the car." So they dragged him out of the car. One of them pinned him on the bonnet to put handcuffs on. And then the other one apparently opened the car door, was stroking the woman's hair, saying, "What are you doing with this monkey? Don't worry, we'll look after you now. You're with a real man." He then obviously started to try and like struggle. And they were like, "Oh, let's do him for resisting arrest." And the other guy was saying, "Don't worry, love, we're going to look after you now. We'll take him away, blah, blah. You don't want to be with somebody like that."
Wow.
Ridiculous. And I used to think things like that were like, we're talking years and years ago. Do you know what I mean? But not.
Mhm.
It's just a joke.
Yeah, right. To me, racism ain't going nowhere. It's gonna be here till the end of time. It's just how we go about dealing with it. And right now, I think with technology now, it's actually being brought to the forefront because stuff like um, stuff like a man being the knee on his neck, and
Mm.
I just watched a video that my cousin sent me where a gentleman was just sitting in the mall having lunch with his family, a black gentleman having lunch with his family, and they just came and handcuffed him, took him outside, and then come to find out, and the woman filmed it, just mistaken identity.
We had
They
one of
and the guy uncuffed him. The guy uncuffed him. He apologized, but look what they did to him. They didn't even ask him who he was or nothing. They just went right over to him, handcuffed him. He's like, "Yo, I'm eating a sandwich and with my children and my lady," and they were like, "You got a black truck?" He was like, "I don't even own." His wife was like, "We don't even own a black truck." So then once they released him, the guy, he's snapping because I would have been snapping too. But come to find out that he fit the description of a guy with a young kid with like um, um, fake credit cards. And then guess what? She panned over. The cops got the guy and the little boy with the red jacket on right on the corner. And all my man could say to him and was like, "I apologize." And here in the States, that's what we deal with on a regular basis.
See, we had one like that. First of all, I want to say the first time that George Floyd video circulated, I honestly couldn't watch it. I pressed play, and the first time I heard him say, "I can't breathe," I thought, "Oh my God, I've got to turn it off." And I'm not trying to be like, I'm shutting out, but I was really sad. And I have watched it since then. But the first time I was like, "Oh my God, I can't watch it." But there was a case here where somebody videoed, there was a guy in a petrol station filling up, where he'd gone to obviously fill up his car with petrol. He had a kid. The kid looked no more than, I'd say, 3 or 4, a little girl, and she was standing in front of him. There was a police guy either side. And same thing again, like mistaken identity, because the child was stood in front of him. The guy just took out a taser and tasered him right with the child right there. The child started screaming, obviously, saying, "Daddy, daddy," and the policeman just moved the child out, like took her out the side. Why would you do that? I personally don't get it. I don't understand the whole racism thing. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get how you can hate on somebody from the color of their skin. Like there's a meme or a thing that goes around that's basically got 4 bags of blood, right? they all look exactly the same. So it's a clear bag of blood, right? And it's got above there white man, black man, Asian man, Chinese man. Okay, well, if you took that away, you pick one then. You need it to save your life. You pick which bag you want, because I know for a fact you ain't going to be able to tell if it's come from a black man or an Asian man or a white man. It's going to save your fucking life. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I donate blood all the time, so I get a little certificate every year on how much blood I donate, and they call me on a regular. That being said, that is true. So basically, what you're saying is minorities are going through the same thing in England
Exactly the
that we're
same.
going through here in America, and which is a sad thing.
It is. Can we
On
just, sorry, can we just pause there for a minute? I've got to plug the computer in. Sorry. Technical.
Excuse me, people. Technical difficulty.
That's what happens when you've got so much modern technology going on.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Um,
Sorry.
and here, I just think, like I said before, it's just being brought to the forefront a lot more now. Now that they done put a big camera on it, because like now anybody can take a camera and videotape stuff, and that's what's going on.
Okay.
Back then, the same stuff that's going on now was going on back then. It's just it wasn't being caught. It wasn't even
Okay.
being caught on camera. It was our words against theirs, and by there being in a bigger group, it's your word against mine.
But when you watch things like that, and you've seen that This Is Us on Netflix, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is just awful. Like, and I know you say stuff about your sons. That could be my son one day as well as your sons. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if anybody hasn't watched it, but if you got Netflix, watch This Is Us. It's 4 parts, an hour and a half each, about 5 black guys who were wrongly accused and put in prison for something they never did, and they were kids, like
Mm-hmm.
15, 14, 15, 16. I After the first 5 minutes, I think I cried right to the end. It's a
Mm-hmm.
it's a damn good make, like program, but it is very sad.
Yeah.
But now you need to take the mic, because what about your experiences? You're a black man, so what about your
Mm-hmm.
experiences? A black
I'm
man
gonna tell you.
in America.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I like all women. Period. Um,
That's just greedy.
I've dated white women. I've dated black women. I've dated Spanish women. So on and so forth. But I grew up in an interracial household. My father was dating a white woman for years, and the first time I've ever heard the word nigger was, I think I was about 6 or 7, and I went across the street and I was going to play with a friend of mine. And his grandma comes outside and says, "Take your little nigger ass across the street. He's not coming out to play." And I didn't know what nigger meant. So I'm sitting on the porch. Now I consider her my stepmom. This is a white woman. She comes outside. She's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "That lady over there said, take your nigger ass across the street." And she said, "What did she say to you?" And I kid you not, I never seen a woman put her slippers on that fast. Went over there and she chewed that lady out. She damn near beat her up in her doorway, pretty much. And then over the years, my sister lived in Virginia, and we were all going to help her move back to PA. And I'll never forget, it was dark and we was like out and about, and I ain't afraid to ask for directions. And this is before, Google Maps and all that. You printed them all out. You didn't have it on your phone like GPS and all that. So my brother was like, "Hey, get out and ask that guy." Yo, I literally got out and was like, "Excuse me, sir. Like, we're kind of like lost our way." He ran from me, jumped in the car, and was like, click, clink. And I was just like blown away by it. Like, really? And and then over the years, as a minority, you see that we have to work twice as hard, you know what I mean,
Mm.
to prove ourselves when we shouldn't have to. And then when it comes to relationships, My father told us my father's never been the type of person to say, you can't date this person or date that person. My dad always says this, and he says this to this day: can't nobody tell you who to love.
You
So
can't
then,
help it.
yeah, and then on top of that, like I asked him one time, I was like, well, Dad, how do you feel about, me dating, a white woman? You know what I mean? He was just like, to be honest with you, son, like, I don't care if she was green with purple polka dots. As long as you guys are happy and she's treating you right and you're treating her right, I don't have a problem with it. I ain't with him. You are. You dig? And he still says today, like,
And
I
I
could be
don't mean to
crying on
cut
his
you off
shoulder.
on your story. Like I've spoken to him a couple of times. I absolutely love your dad. Like I'm totally his number one fan.
Who doesn't love my dad? My dad is the man. But the thing about it is though, like growing up here, um, I hate the stigmatism of when a black man is dating a white woman, it's got to be like a sign of success. That is not a sign of success to me. Like you see all these football players, and then you see them marry white women, or oh, the white woman's a gold digger. Maybe so. We don't know. But then you also got to understand that I don't look at skin color. Period. I look at how a woman treats me. So if you're treating me good, I'm gonna treat you good. And if we vibe in the same, we vibe in the same. If we not, we not. And it don't really look. I really don't look at uh, color. I look at what I'm attracted to. And I'm gonna tell you, as a man, as you get older, your expectations and views of women change as you mature. I wouldn't even say older. As you mature, the way you look at women as you mature changes.
But have you ever had any confrontation when you've been out in public with a white woman?
Have I had any confrontations? No. I remember dating years ago with I dated a white girl in high school. And I remember talking to her on the phone, and I was at work. I worked a part-time job. So I was at work, and the mom, she was like, well, I really like him. He's good to me. Yeah, yeah. And I can hear her mom like, well, you know what? Black boys don't work. They always staying in trouble. You know what I mean? You don't need that in your life, yada, yada. And I was just like, what? And me, I'm not afraid. You know what I mean? She was like, I said, well, let me talk to your mom. And she was like, well, mom, he wants to talk to you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I talked to her, and she was just like, well, by me conversating with her, it kind of changed her mind a little bit. She
Mhm.
kind of changed her tune because she didn't, first of all, she didn't do all that barking for one. And I talked to her with some sense. I was like, ma'am, you don't even know me. Like, you're just going by my color of my skin. Well, you're probably out running the stress. I said, ma'am, presently I'm at work right now. I'm on my break. I was just calling her to see, how she's doing. And I'm in school, and you know what I mean? We went to do different schools. So it's like, and then she's like, you know what? She says, you and then she kind of got, because I think she was trying to find something mean to
Mhm.
say, but then it turned around on her. She was like, you know what? You sound like a pretty good guy, but I just don't feel like my daughter should be dating outside her race. I said, well, then I'd rather you say that
Mm.
than to make stereotypical things to throw my culture or my blackness in the dirt. Because basically, I'd rather you say, hey, I just rather you date your own kind than to sit here and say,
I
I don't
don't like
date a
that
black
saying
guy
though,
because
your own
he ain't shit.
kind. I don't like that, your own kind. We're all humankind, right? So I
Yeah, but
really don't like, I know you're only saying it for the purpose of the thing. I don't like that. Just like I don't like the N word, I will never say it, not even in a song. I'll shush it out. It's not crossing my lips. And I swear to God, if anyone ever calls my son the N word, they best run faster than me, because if I catch him, I'll give him a good clobbering and I don't care.
good clobbering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so
Did you,
my
sorry to cut you off again. Did you carry on dating her after that, or was that it done because the mum
uh
said,
it was kind of, I mean, we dated for a couple more weeks, but it was kind of over.
oh,
Um,
what a beauty.
Now, as I got older, I've dated, like I said, I dated a variety of different races, nationalities. And like you, I don't really here it's a little different. You have a lot of people who will look but don't say nothing.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And the same with you. I have black female friends, and some of them are cool, and then some of them are like, I can't see myself dating a white guy. I love my melanin, and that's cool. You know what I mean? But then I also have some black female friends who are married to white guys and are happy, which, and to me, love has no color. You know what I
Agreed.
mean? You love who you love, and that's the thing about love. It's powerful. It doesn't have no color, and it's there's no like, you know, there is no stipulations on love. Like love doesn't have a set, to me, a set definition. You know
Okay,
what I
so
mean?
can I ask you then, have you dated a white woman and not been accepted by her? Apart from that one when you was younger, as you've got older, have you dated a white woman or gone out with a white woman and not been accepted by her family?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
how was that? How did you deal with that?
It was kind of like half and half, and I'm gonna tell you why. Half of the family didn't really care. And like you said, it's the older generation who have been raised to where, we're supposed to know our place.
Mm,
It's the older generation that have a hard time seeing a black man holding hands with a white woman. And like I said, there's a lot of stereotypical type of stuff that go along with that. You know
mm.
what I mean? Um, but yeah, I've dealt with that. But like I said, it's different because they're not going to say anything in front of you. They wait till you leave.
But they make it awkward, right? Because the
Oh,
first
it's like cutting the tension. It's like cutting the air with a butter knife.
the first black guy I dated, we were together for 6 years, and his sister never spoke to me because I was white. We even, I think it was on the second or third year, went to her house on Christmas Day. As much as I didn't really want to because I didn't want to be put in an uncomfortable situation, I was like, do you know what? Fine, we'll go. She still did not speak to me, even though I spoke to her. She just gave me a couple of grunts, never spoke to me. She spoke to me literally 4 months before we separated because she had two older girls and she just had a brand new baby. So her girls were like, I want to say like 10 and 12. And then she had a baby, but she wanted to go out for the weekend with her friends. So she asked him, would you be able to have the kids around your house? So obviously he asked me. We lived together. His mum lived with us. We used to look after his mum. She was disabled. So even though I looked after her mum, she still didn't speak to me. And I was like, of course, you know me, I love kids. Never questioned it. Had him the whole weekend. He took his mum to church on the Sunday, so he wasn't even in when she came to pick up the kids. She never even said anything. She just gave me a massive hug. And I thought to myself, funny how you want to speak to me now. Now I've
Yeah.
just looked after your kids a weekend,
But
6 years.
sometimes I think sometimes people need to see, instead of listening, they need to see it for themselves. That not all black people are ignorant or mean or mistrustful, and not all white people are misleading or
Or
you
gold
know
diggers.
you know what I mean.
But what
So
about like your friends and stuff? Have you had like, do you have like conversations or do you ever sit around and chop it up and talk about it? Or ever?
my best friend is white. I grew up with him. We grew up in the hood. He grew up in the hood just like me. And I think I've said this before. Um, his peoples were acceptant of me, and my peoples was acceptant of him. And the thing that I liked about growing up with him is that um, he never changed. He to this day he is still the same man he was when we was kids. Um, he listened to rock music, heavy metal, and then when he came, like I said, I go over his house. His uncle had a band. They be out there playing guitars and drums and folk music. We drinking, and you know what I mean. We
Mm,
drinking sodas and running around the house, and that was their thing. But then when he would come to my house, there was Yo MTV raps that was, it was just straight hip hop, R&B and soul, and he loved it. And I loved being with him. He loved being with me, and we just grew up that way. And the thing about it is, you know, when you get to see like both sides of the coin, you'll get a better understanding of life. Now, is life fair? No, never going to be. Uh, but if you can just get one person to see that all blacks and all whites are not out to get each other, that's a one up for society in itself. You
What
know
do
what I
you
mean?
think will have to happen though for that to happen? I'm not gonna lie, probably it's not gonna happen in our lifetime, let's be fair.
Yeah, I mean, we had a black president, and still stuff still the same. It don't change. And like I'm gonna take a just a little snap from ex-President Obama. He says one man can't change the world.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, he was in office. He knows what it's like. As much as he want, as much as, because you'll get this whole thing. Well, he's a black president. He should have helped out more. He should have did this. He should have did that. He is the president of the world, so he has to balance everything out. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So he has to be able to balance what's going on the block versus what's going on in the suburbs, what's going down here, poverty level, and what's going on with the upper echelons, the rich folk. And he has to be able to balance all of that. And like he said, there's people that voted for him at the end of his thing, didn't like what he did. One person can't change the world. It has to be a joint venture. It has to be everybody has to be able to open their eyes and sit down and really throw it all out on the table, which to me, like you said, probably won't happen in my lifetime.
See now
But
I went sorry, carry on.
as I said, you know what I mean? It's sad that it has to take something tragic, and that's in anything.
Mm.
That's in jobs, that's in anything. Something tragic has to happen before something gets done. And it shouldn't be that way. That man had to die in the middle of the street for something to be brought up. The boy had to be shot with Skittles in his pocket.
Mm.
You know what I mean? For someone to talk about it. The man had to be choked out because he was selling Lucy's on the street for someone to say something about it. And it's sad that we have to, something tragic, the man jogging down the street and gets killed, then there's things being brought up when it shouldn't have to be that way.
But the
It should
thing
be
with the
talked
whole
about
George Floyd
every
thing, like you had people saying, oh, but, he had a criminal record and he supposedly done this and he had counterfeit notes and blah. So what? Doesn't,
yeah,
even if he done all of those things, does that mean that makes it right for then the copper to put
yeah.
his knee in his neck
But
and
like
kill him
like
like
I'm
that?
saying, that would we have known that? You see what I'm saying? It's like they try to find um a way out. They try to find an excuse on doing what they do, and
But there
that's
isn't an
not how it
excuse
works.
for doing what they did. I don't, even if he'd have literally even if he'd have killed somebody right there and then, there's no need for that. There's why couldn't they just cuff him, take him away, question him, whatever? Why has it got to be extreme like that? And
I don't know. I can't answer that question. I was watching on the news like that. There's so much going on, and now they have these body cams. Some of these states now, the cops are wearing body cams, and I was just watching. And this was just this week, not too long ago. We had a gentleman um, get shot in his grandma's doorway, and all he did was go to the store to get some Subway food. They said he pointed a gun at him, and they shot him. We had another and this was on a body cam of a cop mistakenly charged into this lady's house. She was butt naked. They handcuffed her while she's naked. They didn't bother to give her any clothes. She's standing there like, what are you guys doing? Like, and it was all men, no women, all men standing around this woman. She's naked. And then after they done been there for 5-10 minutes, going through her stuff, running through the house, she's like, what is going on? Because someone explained something to me. And while she's being handcuffed, they're talking to her. Then someone threw her a towel. Now she's still handcuffed. Someone grabbed the blanket from the back. You can see it all on the body cam. do it over. Come on, man. Like, we had a young lady get shot in her own crib. Like, something has to give. Why does it have to be something as tragic as these things for it to be brought up? See, that's what we, here in America, what we deal with. Like, it's crazy. And like I said, with the technology we have now, this has been going on for years now. It's just now it's being brought to the forefront because now we got cameras now.
But the whole George
Boom.
Floyd thing, what's happened to those coppers?
Look, who knows? I stopped following it because the simple fact of the matter is nothing's going to change until something drastically happens. Like black, excuse me, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, they do matter. We are a fabric of the American dream. They brought us over here, and our culture has made it the way America is, as far as style, music,
Hmm.
inventions. You know what I mean? It is what it is. We're weaved into this American lifestyle, and they just refuse. There's just people who just refuse to accept it. You know what I mean? They
I
refuse
did.
to accept it.
I did have a holiday once to New York with my ex-partner who was black, the same guy whose sister didn't speak to me because I was white. And when we were there, he wanted a particular style of jacket. So one day we got on the subway to go to Jamaica in Queens, right?
Mhm.
And when we got off the subway, it was like it is here in London, like the tubes are so packed, you're squeezed in like sardines. When the
Mhm.
doors opened and we got off the subway, it was just literally a sea of black people. There wasn't anybody. I was the only white person there. So when we sort of fought our way through the crowd and got into the street, he said to me, "Oh my God, didn't you feel intimidated? You were literally the only white person." And I was like, "No, I didn't pay no mind to it." Do you know what I mean? I knew it was clearly obvious I was the only white person, but I didn't think about it. I just went on about my business. And he was like, "God, even I felt intimidated, and I'm a black man, you know." And I just thought,
Mhm.
why? I mean,
Yeah.
would you ever feel intimidated if you went somewhere and you was the only black person?
No, because I'm like that all the time. I work. I think this is the first time since my military days. No, no, I can't even say that. Uh, right now, I'm in a position in my job where there's only two black guys, me and another guy.
Do you
We're the
think
only
that?
two black drivers amongst 30.
But do you feel like you're
Amongst 30.
treated differently?
Are we treated differently? Oh yeah, by all means we are. But it's about how you handle it though.
Hmm.
Like, I could be that angry black man and cuss and fuss and make no, you know what I do? I set the standard. You know what I mean? And if it ain't right, oh, I let them know it ain't right, you know? And you gotta be mindful of how you handle it. Because they want you, see, to me, I feel like they want you to be that angry black man so they can run around and chuckle with their friends, like, see, I told you.
Hmm.
Shit. You know what I mean? But then when you come at them like, you know what I mean, they would come at you, they don't know what to do with themselves. You know what I mean? If I come at them with rules and regulations, they don't know how to, you know what I mean? They don't know how to handle that. Because
Hmm.
they expect you, they expect us to be angry. They expect us to throw a fit and do this and do that. Because that's in their heads, that's what they see on TV. See, media is uh, uh, can either make you or break you. I feel for minority, they can either make you or break you. If you go against the grain, then guess what? They'll find ways to kick you right in. You know what I mean? Kick you ding ding in the dirt. But then I'm just not one of those caterers. Like, you know what I mean? I tell people, I came in here a man, I'm leaving like one. So it is what it is. uh when I was in the military, um I'm gonna tell you, I was never intimidated, but I'm gonna tell you, there's racism within our own kind as well.
What do you mean? Excuse.
Like, you literally, like, I'm gonna tell you, I was in an all black unit, And I never thought in a million years that my own people would hate on our own people.
Why did they do that? I don't
It's called
understand.
jealousy. And see, what happens is when you're raised in an environment where they feel like they want to put us against each other, like black on black crime. You know what? White people kill white people all the time.
Hmm.
We had a white person that was eating people. You know what I
You know
mean?
what I don't like
So, I
about
mean,
what I don't like about the press is if they're okay, I can only say what it's like over here. If there's a killing or a shooting or stabbing in London, and let's just say a white guy did the killing, they'd say a young man, 20, has been arrested for suspicion of stabbing someone. If it
mhm.
was a black guy, then it would be a 20-year-old black man has been arrested for stabbing someone. Do you know what I mean? Why do they always have to bring race into it when it's a black person? When there's a white person that's been arrested, they don't say, oh, a white man, they just say a man. But if it's a
Mhm.
black man, then they say a black man has been arrested.
Mm. I wish I had that answer for
Like
you.
there's an
But
emphasis on it, you know.
the thing
Oh,
I think is just like because we can go on and on for this, but like
I was
I
just about
I
to
see
say the same.
racism within, yeah, I see racism within our own kind. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't even think it's sometimes it can be, we can be oblivious to it. Like for instance, they had this big thing on Gucci and all these fashion designers and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. You know, how come when it comes to our own kind, we don't put as much love and integrity into our own stuff? But you'll spend thousands and thousands of dollars on Gucci, Louis Vuitton, all this other stuff. But if, say, like I came out with a bag that looked like Louis Vuitton, you would want to hook up. And if I don't give you a hookup, then I'm a sellout. You see
Mm.
what I'm saying? But yet you can go to Louis Vuitton and break the bank for that. You see what I'm saying? So I think as minority, we need to break that cycle too. We got to support each other.
But I mean,
Other,
we have
what I mean?
like black
But
on
you
black.
won't see that. But you won't see that though.
We have black on black violence here too. Like in London, there's like gangs, you know, like that go against each other. Like in those films that you watch, kidulthood, adulthood, brotherhood, whatever. That's the sort of thing that happens. But like you said, we could talk about this forever. Like I feel like we literally just scratched the surface. So we're going to have to add
We
it to our
did.
part 2 and part 3 because
Yeah.
we've
Well,
exceeded.
like I said, we're going to end this with do you think racism will ever end in our lifetimes?
I'm
What
going
do
to
you
say
think?
no.
That's a good question to end
I
on.
don't, to be honest, I don't even think it will in Alfie's lifetime either.
I tell you, it's weaved in our subconscious and conscious. It is weaved around the world with racism, being Muslim, being black, being white, being Hispanic, being Ukrainian, and so on and so forth. So on that note,
But I just want to say before we end, thanks for sharing your experiences with us, Rich.
oh, well, thank you for sharing yours.
Anytime. I don't
With
know
that being
how other
said,
people.
this is so,
This is Rich
and we are from
across
across the
the
pond.
pond. Have a
We'll see
lovely
you again.
week.
Oh man, you have a great one.
Hope you don't get any
I'll
more
see you on
snow.
Friday. Hmm?
Christmas next week.
I
Let's
know,
quickly just
right?
address next Friday is Christmas Day. So we're doing a show Christmas Eve, which is Thursday instead, right?
Right.
Because we don't want to interrupt people's Christmas Day.
We're not interrupting anybody's
No
Christmas.
turkey and stuffing is getting interrupted.
And get stank on your drunk because we probably won't be able to go nowhere.
Well, we can't. So
Mm.
until Thursday, Christmas Eve. Woohoo!
Until Thursday, people.